in 5 states, slavery is on the ballot. Voters in Alabama, Louisiana, Oregon, Tennessee, and Vermont will soon decide on closing loopholes in their states' constitutions that led to a rise in forced labor by people convicted of certain crimes. This effort is part of a national push to amend the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which bans enslavement or involuntary servitude except as a form of criminal punishment. Now, that exception has long permitted what some consider the exploitation of labor by convicted felons. 19 states have language allowing this, and in the past, Colorado, Nebraska, and Utah had similar initiatives, so now it's forbidden there. Democrats in California tried to rid the remnant of slavery. However, the state Senate rejected a proposed amendment to get rid of involuntary servitude. So clearly a hot-button issue here. And for more on this, we want to bring in our ABC News contributor and presidential historian, Mark Updegrove, along with ABC News contributor and professor of history at Johns Hopkins University, Leah Wright-Ruger. So let's start with you, Leah. Louisiana. It has the nation's highest incarceration rate, yet one of the legislative sponsors of this amendment actually is saying the language is so confusing that they're asking voters to not support it. They're adding that maybe they can clean it up, maybe they can address it again next year. But this is what's at stake today. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. So I think, first of all, as part of a larger effort for criminal justice reform, but also for prison abolition, there has been an enormous grassroots effort to try and put issues like this on the ballot. It's been going on for a very long time, at least a decade. And I think one of the things that we've seen is an enormous amount of success in the ability of activists and organizers from these various organizations, civil rights and prison abolition organizations, in order to get this, amounts to a loophole, closed. Now, we also know, particularly in the cases where this has not been successful, like California, that there is a lot of confusion over what this means. Does it mean that we have to pay prisoners, a wage? Does it mean that we have to pay them a minimum wage? Do we have to, the same kind of thing? But instead, I think it should be seen as the success, the ability to push for rights for prisoners who have been treated in exploitative ways.
Well, so to Mark, to you, incarcerated workers inside prisons in some cases are paid pennies a day. 9 states don't pay inmates anything at all for their labor. And the ACLU actually told the New York Times that prisoners produce an estimated $2 billion in goods every year. So do lawmakers have a constitutional obligation to address this?
Well, it bears mentioning that if those workers don't comply and don't choose to do the labor, there are punitive measures taken against them. They can't have visitors. They can't make phone calls. There are all kinds of things that are done to ensure that they are punished for not being rendering that service, that labor. So I think something has to be done to address these things. As Leah sort of indicated, there's a lot of ambiguity about this stuff, these arcane constitutional amendments that there are often referendums around, and they will be exploited by both sides to ensure that they get their way on that referendum. But surely something needs to be done.
Now, I do want to point out that it's on the ballot in Oregon, and the State Sheriff's Association telling us, while they do not condone or support slavery, they still do not support this amendment. But adding to that, Leah, in the conversation here, you said really it's a mistake to suggest that this is purely about the 13th Amendment. Instead, it's about closing a loophole that legislators exploited after slavery. So break that down for us.
Exactly. And that's all it is, which is that the 13th Amendment contains this one little tiny area that essentially says, you can slavery is forbidden except in these cases. And so what we see is a number of state legislatures, particularly after 1876, use this loophole to essentially get to what amounts to slave labors. This is an attempt to make that right, to make that good. We're all on the same page. Nobody likes slavery. So now let's make sure that it's legislatively sound.
All right, Leah and Mark, our thanks to you for being with us this evening.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.